Wonderful, gorgeous hearts and soul, welcome to another episode of our wonderful heart and soul show. Today we share about self-acceptance, which is such an important topic. Unless we accept ourselves for who we are, truly are at the heart and soul level, we'll never be able to accept something or someone else. So, welcome to today's episode. Thank you, Janet, for being here.
Oh, Caroline, it's always lovely. Self-acceptance definitely is a crucial step in the healing journey and self-development journey, because, as you sort of say, until we can accept ourselves for who we truly are, heart and soul level, the authentic core of our truth, we're living in mass. We're always accommodating society and different people we're with, fitting to their expectations and not living for us and what is true to us. And I think that as things are progressing in our society at the moment, there's a lot of this now starting to show up. And I think there's also a lot of people starting to question how they're living their lives and don't want to buy into that anymore and are ready to shift, to become more authentic and more connected with who they are. And it all starts with acceptance, self-acceptance. So, Caroline, have you got a story to tell us, or do you want to share anything about
Yes,
self-acceptance?
definitely. I mean, yeah, it's accepting your body, your shape and form mostly. And on that, I have a story. I have two sisters. They are identical twins and about 2 years younger than me. And they have a complete different body shape. I am short and a bit wide, sturdy, short legs, long body. Can I change that? No. Did I accept that? No, not for the longest time. But my two sisters, they have long legs. They're tall and thin. And for all of my childhood, I always thought I am fat. I am too big. It's just about that comparison to my sisters. And now looking back at my childhood, I was just a normal child, but comparing to my sisters didn't do me any favors. So learning to accept yourself just the way you are is key, and all of you, and it can be the other stories about feeling I was too sensitive and I couldn't accept that of me till I learned that being sensitive is actually a gift and embracing that. And on my self-love journey, acceptance comes first. We can't love something we don't accept. And that's sort of like the conditional love we might have heard from parents, or sometimes used it as well, because I only felt loved when I was the good girl. Why can't you be like others? Or why can't you be nice? Or why can't you be grateful? Or all these kind of things you might have heard as a child sort of led you to be something you're maybe not, or hold you back, instead of being your true expression and having your good days and your bad days, but maybe raising an issue or something. You held yourself back and tried to be compliant. You tried to be the good girl, the nice girl, and you grew up without boundaries, without being able to say no. And yeah, I bent over backwards for most of my life, to the point that I had no idea who I was anymore. Just to make the marriage work, to be the good girl, to be someone the world expected of me, but to the detriment of myself, burnout, exhaustion, no idea who I was. So start with accepting yourself and just the way you are. It's good to thrive or do better, or but not to fit in a box or to fit in with society or to please others. Being authentic comes from the heart and the connection to your soul, and it starts with self-acceptance and allowing yourself to having a bad day as well. And over to you, Janet.
It's just made me, whenever you were talking there, think of I'll probably not get the quote completely right, but Brene Brown, in all of her research about vulnerability and leadership and social structures, it's quite interesting because she actually says, the opposite of belonging is trying to fit in. So when you belong somewhere, you're in an environment where you can just be yourself and you belong and you feel content. There's this like a contentment of being at home. I want to describe it as being at home. Mm-hmm. Whereas when you're, and exactly that, I can list many, many occasions where I have felt I've had to try and fit in. And whether that was, living in a different country, or whether it was sort of, as you say, trying to people please, family or society or at school or at work. In fact, actually, I became such a good chameleon in that I was very good at masking and learning to fit in, because that's how was my coping mechanism. But then it leaves you totally exhausted because you're not being true to yourself. And it is only now later in life where along the healing and self-love journey and being allowed to sort of like return to who I am, rather than trying to put all of these masks on for all of these different reasons. And yeah, it's been an interesting journey of finally just accepting that this is where I am, this is who I am, this is how my life is, and I'm okay, and I'm good with that. And I do think that when I heard that expression, when Brene Brown said that, the opposite of belonging is trying to fit in, and I thought that is so true. When you've been there and you recognize that that's what you're doing constantly, it is quite an eye-opener. And I think there's a lot of people doing that because they're trying to please other people, whether it's parents, whether it's society, whatever it is, and they're bending or being coerced to try and fit a certain mold. And they're not being allowed the freedom, particularly children, that freedom to express, as you mentioned, they're expressing who your true self is. And particularly children they're being diagnosed with all of these different and labeled. And they just are children who perceive, and their mind works in a different way, and they're highly intelligent in their own way, or very creative in their own way, and they're just being pushed and told, no, you're odd, or you're not right, or you're broken. And they're growing up with that, when they're not. They're actually some of the most brilliant, creative people that we have are children like that. So don't allow them to grow and blossom into who they are and who they truly are, and not do this fitting into boxes thing. It's wrong. I'm just going to say it's wrong. In my view, it's wrong. What What about you, Caroline?
Definitely, definitely. And as a mom of an indigo child, I truly know that, and yeah, my own experience of trying to fit in. And I absolutely love that what you shared about belonging. And the fun thing is, we try a lifelong to fit in and belong by sort of, whereas we can only truly belong when we're true centered in our own being. And yeah, and I know that trying to fit in, trying to, whatever, is so exhausting. And like you said, sometimes you have to realize, oh, which group, which mask do I need to go there? And oh, I have the wrong mask on. Oh no, I have to, and it's so important that we belong, that we ground ourselves, that we sort of like, for me, it was just like arriving. When I finally accepted myself, all the good parts and all the parts I don't love so much yet, it's sort of like, I arrived. I arrived within me. I arrived here on earth. I finally felt grounded. Beforehand, I was sort of like flocking from, everywhere. And yeah, definitely belong. And that's, as everything else, is an inner journey. And it only comes from self-accepting. And that means stop comparing, stop trying to be someone different, be your unique self, because the world needs each of us to step fully into our own being and into our own light, and become the woman we were meant to be. For so long we might have sort of shied away or had like a big lid or something on us, and now it's sort of removing that and taking a breath and belonging and arriving and sharing from the heart and soul. And I think that's where we belong, that's where we arrive, that's where we are home, in our heart and our soul. And that's so important.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And another thing that's popped into my mind there, I think it was Einstein that talked about you can't judge an elephant and a fish, or something like, sort of like, the elephant can't ride a bike and a fish can't climb a tree. So, it's also important to stop judging, because people are being judged in a certain setting that isn't the right setting for them anyway. And as you say, you can't judge a fish because it can't climb a tree, because really a fish has no need to climb a tree. And an elephant to ride a bike, well, an elephant has no need to ride a bike. So we really need to take that on board as well, about sort of even in ourselves, to stop judging ourselves. With the self-acceptance, is stop judging and, as you say, comparing, and starting to see the strength, the beauty, the uniqueness of just being us. And like you guys, I struggle with my weight because I haven't been on HRT so long, and different reasons. But you know what? Now I don't. As long as I can get out and do what I want to do, as long as I am, reasonably fit and healthy, if I'm a bit cuddly, I don't have a problem with it. Other people seem to have a problem with it, but I don't. And at the end of the day, I mean, like you, Caroline, we give great hugs.
Indeed. And I mean, we can never be this really thin androgynous type of woman that is now on all the covers. And I mean, we're not all blondes, we're not all, you know, that's just it. And accepting who we are for what we are, for our heart and soul and our amazing empathy, gentleness, understanding, compassion, and seeing those as strengths and learning to become an empowered empath and not sort of being sucked in with all that feeling. Sort of, it's like living with green eyes and curly hair, you know, it's just, we have to accept those things. We can't change them. I have wide shoulders. I mean, I wish my shoulders were a bit smaller. It's easier to fit into female clothes, but does it matter? No. You know, if I have a nice jacket, I can get it in the men's department, and dark green I love. So it's just making the most out of it and becoming true to yourself. And in school, I know they all have to fit in a box, and that's such a pity because we don't see how brilliant, creative, amazing each child is, and trying to sort of cater to their own uniqueness and helping their self-esteem, you know, because you go to school and then you're not good there, you're not good there, you're not good there, you're not at class level or something, and then you learn you're just a failure, you know, you're not good enough, and that really stays for life. And so to each mom out there, accept your child for who she or he is and love them just the way they are, and support them through their challenges. And best you can do that by learning to accept yourself, love yourself, and be authentic just the way you are, because our children, they copy us. They don't do what we tell them, but they do what we do. So stand up for yourself, be the most amazing heart-led person connected to your soul, and allow your children to do the same.
Some great words of wisdom, Caroline. Thank you for sharing those, because I think it's very, very much needed in society right now. So yes, self-acceptance, accept who you are and be authentically, beautifully, uniquely you.
Exactly, and you can do that by just using one gorgeous affirmation and saying it out loud to you. And you can say, I accept you, and you can insert your name fully. And as I would say, I accept you, Caroline, fully. And that was sort of like, it's liberating. And I think that's what deep down we all wanted to hear, just to hear it said by ourselves, that we accept ourselves fully. And this is just the first step. And keep going. And remember, we have better days, we have less good days, we have days we really feel like, okay, we've mastered the acceptance, self-acceptance, and then there are days we feel like we've totally forget about it. But it's a journey, and on the bad days, you will be reminded, okay, self-acceptance, and you just go and do it again. It's inner work, and if you love some help with it, I know Janet does great soul magic work. You can reach out to her at janetgroom.com, or contact me at caroline@carolinepalmy.com. And we are here. We are here to help you with acceptance, with connecting to the heart, to the soul, and also share Share this episode with a friend who needs to hear all the wisdom and insights and a little inspiration. And that's all. Subscribe to the podcast and enjoy the show.
Thank you.
So, accepting you for who you are, Janet, truly accepting myself fully, sending you so much love and thanks for being with us today.
Love and light blessings, everyone.